All right, let's switch to business news now. On a rough Friday for U.S. equities, plunging oil prices weighing on the markets today. Investors concerned that it could signal slowing global economic growth. The Nasdaq sliding 1.6%, the Dow dropping 0.75%, more than 200 points, and the S&P 500 losing 0.9%. All right, well, Sunday is the biggest shopping event of the year. And no, we're not talking about Black Friday, Amazon Prime Day, or Cyber Monday. It is Singles Day, and that is a multi-billion-dollar sales event bigger than Black Friday and Cyber Monday combined. The Alibaba invented holiday offers shoppers special deals. Last year, the Chinese e-commerce giant sold more than $25 billion in goods in one day alone on November 11th. Now, there are concerns that this year's event could lag behind past years because of China's sluggish economy. Alibaba shares were off 3% in trading today. To discuss, let's bring in Dan McClory. He is the Managing Director, Head of Equity Capital Markets, and Head of China at Boustead Securities. Dan, good to have you with us. Dan, Singles Day, a huge phenomenon. It's seen really as the counter to Valentine's Day. Very successful campaign by Alibaba, launched back in 2009. Now, Dan, I know you're not single, so you're likely not celebrating. But tell us about Singles Day.
Well, you don't have to be single to participate in Singles Day, which I think they've now rebranded as the 11/11 Global Consumer Event. But the idea is you buy things for yourself. You don't think about other people. You just indulge and you decide, I'm just going to go out and get whatever it is I have in my mind. And certainly people that don't receive gifts from others who may be single have used it more than others. So it's massive, as you pointed out. I think it's a great example of consumerism as entertainment, because as you know, they have a huge festival around it. It's almost like the countdown near where you are in Times Square to New Year's Eve, where they start with entertainment in the morning. They've had David Beckham and Daniel Craig, and they get 150, 200 million people watching live on television, and they use it as a way to roll out products, to introduce brands, to have all kinds of contests. I mean, they've really played it up, and you mentioned $25 billion for Alibaba, $19 billion for JD, which is their competitor, who's adopted the holiday, and it's a force to be reckoned with.
It's certainly a genius marketing idea, but Alibaba hasn't been doing so well this year. The stock is down around 21% year to date. So this Singles Day is going to really indicate how Alibaba is expected to perform. It's going to be closely watched. But there's also a bigger picture here, Dan, because analysts see Alibaba's performance as a bellwether for the Chinese economy, right?
Well, they should, but for a very important reason, and that's because the Chinese economy has obviously shifted from manufacturing to a consumer-driven economy, which is, one of China's goals. So whereas in the past that was seen as maybe the U.S. consumer was kind of the consumer of last resort for China, now the Chinese consumer is consuming for themselves. And of course, the bulk of these sales that take place on Singles Day and at Alibaba are all internal Chinese sales. So I think that the markets are being a little bit hard on Alibaba. Of course, we had Jack Ma step down, which is factored into some of the outlook. And, there's always the specter within China if you get too big, and you sometimes have to be reeled in. So I think some of that's factored into it. But yes, it's a very important bellwether. China is no longer a manufacturing-driven economy, and clearly Alibaba leads that consumer aspect of the economy today.
And speaking of China, of course, U.S.-China trade relations, very topical. We had White House trade advisor Peter Navarro saying today that any new trade deal between the U.S. and China will be on President Trump's terms, not Wall Street's. He's saying that when Wall Street CEOs go and speak to China and get involved, all they do is they weaken the president and his negotiating position. And given that the president is trying to level the playing field and provide better access to Chinese markets for these CEOs and their companies, does Navarro perhaps have a point here, Dan?
A bit. I mean, I accept the first point. The deal will be on Trump's terms. There's no question. And, Peter's office is like 5 minutes away from here. He's a professor at the University of California, Irvine, when he's not being bombastic and flamboyant and running, trade for the president. And I do think that he's got it just a little bit wrong. You know, the two guys he cited and really went after were Jamie Dimon, who's really more of a salaried exec, okay, he's a banker, but Steve Schwartzman. And I mean, what I would say to Peter is, you know, when you're worth $14 billion from having created the world's largest private equity firm, and when a third of the money that you have under management is from China, and when you donate $100 million to Tsinghua University, which is the MIT of China, you know, then you can see what it's like to be disinterested or to not be involved when China asks you, how do we resolve this conflict? So I'm sure everyone agrees that intellectual property theft, leveling the playing field, those are all very important things that need to be accomplished. But nobody's going to tell Steve Schwartzman what to do and that he's being a foreign agent because he's out there talking to the Chinese.
Dan, thank you so much. Dan McClory, always good to have you on the show.
You're welcome.